Hey guys, Jason Agnew here, and coming up next, a Sunday night's main event special. Each and every week, we do podcasts every day, and you can get them by signing up to our Patreon at patreon.com/SNME Radio. It's only $1 a week, and you get a podcast a day. Coming up next, your NXT review. Boris and Matt provide you all the details on NXT, and they do it on a weekly basis. Remember, get it every week at patreon.com/SNME Radio. And here's a sample reviewing this week's NXT.
This episode is dedicated to the memory of Norm Macdonald.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change! When I talk, it's real talk! You gonna wanna listen up! When I talk, it's real talk! All you marks, go ahead and get out! When I talk, it's real talk!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening and where you're listening. Regardless, thank you for listening. The show is NXT Talk. The hosts, I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. Boris, what is this, take 6? Take 7 on this show? We're cursed right now, homeboy.
What is going on?
Power went down a couple times last night trying to record it, so we just punted to this morning. Power went down again this morning, but I think we're back. I think we're good here. We got the equipment going. Boris, we might be able to stretch an hour straight of electricity and get this show on the road.
What is going on?
It's just cursed, haunted. These Bruce Pritchard vibes haunting NXT all over the place, buddy.
It's as if someone doesn't want us to record.
And that somebody is Vince McMahon himself. By God. Anyway, man, it's an exciting time for NXT. You can there are criticisms to be had about this show, from the look to the booking, everything. This is a brand new NXT, buddy.
It surely is a brand new NXT. It's insane how different this NXT is. But before we get there, let's tell you what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about NXT 2.0 from September 14th, 2021. And then we're going to be talking about NXT UK on NXT UK Corner, which, if you've never listened to the show, it is our favorite hour of WWE programming per week. And before we get to things, I want to welcome any non-patron listener, because this week it is NXT Talk that you get for free. So welcome, enjoy. I hope you enjoy the show so that you can go sign up on Patreon. That is patreon.com/SNME Radio.
Tons of great stuff on the feed, man. We got a good team going here, if I do say so myself. Shows every single day of all kinds. You get not only wrestling, but you get a little sports talk. You get Dr. Mouth with his rock and roll lunches. You get some trivia from Agnew, and all kinds of wrestling talk as well. So yeah, we got a good squad, whole squad with it, Boris.
Yeah, man. And you get at least one wrestling show per week or per day, which is just absolutely fantastic.
Yes, sir. So, speaking of the professional wrestling, how do you feel about this Rainbow NXT, buddy? Grand scheme, big picture. How you feeling right now?
It's kind of funny. You asked me last night. You asked me this morning. I might have to give you different answers.
Really? You feeling a little worse this morning, maybe, now that you've slept on it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't say worse, but it's more... it feels like a Kevin Dunn production now.
It feels very Bruce Pritchard-y, very Kevin Dunn-y. It very much is WWE. It's not the gritty offshoot that NXT has become. It's very similar to like 2010-11, the cheesiest version of WWE almost. Like pure, uncut, weapons-grade WWE booking.
No, that's exactly it. And it's not only the booking, it's just the production itself, the look and the feel, the camera angles, everything to do.
The false advertising, Boris.
Oh my God, the false advertising. But we're going to get there in a little bit. But it's crazy when you think about, what NXT was when we started the show a year ago versus what NXT 2.0 is now.
Our first NXT Talk podcast was Halloween Havoc. And it was going head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. It was a Wednesday night war, Boris. We were talking about AEW Dynamite pretty regularly in our shows and kind of giving you the match and the promo of the night. And obviously that has changed greatly. And now what is NXT? What is even it going to be?
It's developmental. At the end of the day, it's developmental. It's not going to be going up against AEW anymore, and that's been very obvious for the past little while. So, you know what? And here's the thing. We've been talking about this for so long. What was NXT?
Exactly.
It kind of had like its own crisis, identity crisis, right?
100%. Yeah, man. It was in between. It was kind of in between a rock and a hard place. It didn't quite know exactly what it wanted to be. At some point, it was the super indie that was like competing with like ROH and like trying to steal European talents and trying to kind of serve all masters, right? And I do think in a nutshell, the idea of streamlining the process and getting wrestlers that Vince McMahon will actually like and want to push is a good idea. But man, it's going to make for a weird and sometimes bad television show.
Well, of course, there's no doubt about that. But like, you know, it's kind of funny because like NXT 2013, 2012, Renee Paquette as your commentator. This is what this reminds me of.
Yeah, a little bit. There are obviously like some differences, but yeah, man, by and large, I can definitely see that. And we're gonna see, but more than anything, I think the talent is gonna be obviously what helps this show. But I do think they are now hindered by the booking. I don't think it's going to help. Certain things like Frankie Monet and Raquel Gonzalez not being on the show. Certain things like the whole opening match situation, which made absolutely no sense. We'll get into the finer points. But yeah, I feel like it's not going to be booked carefully on a month-to-month or like with big 3-month takeover chunks anymore. It's going to be kind of slapdash, kind of thrown together based on what they want to achieve on that specific day.
That's okay. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, that I think it's a change worth noting, but that's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like yeah, we're like, as you said, it's worth noting because it needs to be talked about. I feel like as fans, as viewers, we should know, understand this, accept this. But in the grand scheme of things, it's developmental.
Yeah, man.
Like, from 1 second to the next, someone might be plucked.
Exactly. So, yeah, if it is a AAA team, if it is an AHL team, that is kind of the way it goes. So, I think it makes sense. But again, the problem is that as people who review this show, we now have to sit there for 2 hours every week and watch the resulting Kevin Dunn etude that is coming here, buddy.
Yeah. Yep, to say the least. How about we get right into stuff? But before we do, there's one piece of business we have to take care of. And as the Young Guns, because we are the Young Guns, because also on the Patreon feed, you have the Old Fucks with Dan Laransky and Joe Aguinaldo. So we are the Young Guns, and as the Young Guns, we like to change things up. We are done with star ratings every week. We have a rating du jour, a rating system of the day.
Yeah.
We change it up every episode. And
raising my glass right now to the great Norm Macdonald. We're going to go Turd Ferguson's out of 5 this week, buddy. Ah, man, what a blow. I was actually literally almost in tears at work when I heard that. Just because he's one of my heroes, one of the absolute greats. And it just came so out of nowhere. Just so shocking. Like, it just floored me. And I'm still, like, I've been listening to Norm clips all morning. I'm still, like, rattled about it.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. But without further ado, let's get into NXT 2.0.
Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald.
All right, so the show opens up with a hype reel for tonight's that night's 4-way match to crown a new NXT champion. Because if you didn't know, on Sunday night, very randomly, Samoa Joe had quote unquote injuries, and he's going to be quote unquote away for a specific and unspecified, I should say, amount of time.
So
he had to give up his belt.
Quickly, work injury or shoot injury?
It's shoot.
Shoot injury?
There's no. Look, here's the thing.
Yeah,
I understand the want, the need to shit on WWE for everything.
Yes,
but they're not going to do this on a Sunday night before their biggest show.
Well, I think we're at the point officially where I would put nothing past WWE. Nothing. I think what you're saying is true in a nutshell, but with this specific company, I don't think you can, you know what I mean? You never know. Man, they released like people who were in Braun Strowman beat the boss's son at WrestleMania and they released him. Daniel Bryan is on AEW. He was in the WrestleMania main event. Obviously,
okay, Daniel Bryan went on his own accord.
They wanted to keep him. But it's just like stranger dang things have happened is my point. But I think ultimately you're right. I think this is a shoot injury. I think Samoa Joe is actually hurt because it does literally make zero sense. Like, just put Joe in this match if you want to change the title.
Yeah. Or like a 2-second match.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him the Daniel Bryan treatment.
Exactly right. Why not? Anyways,
so we get a Saturday night's main event opener with all 4 guys.
I really like these. These were good promos.
They were good promos. So Tommaso Ciampa starts it off. He says he will forever be Mr. NXT and the greatest love story in sports entertainment. Gets a second chapter with him and Goldie. Pete Dunne says he's the baddest man in NXT, and tonight he proves it no matter who they put in front of it. Kyle O'Reilly, shows up, and he says this is the opportunity that everyone strives for, and he's just one win away from achieving a goal 16 years in the making. And then one night, LA Knight says Samoa Joe is scared, and it's his game, his night. And as he's talking, he turns and he sees none other than not Rex Steiner, Braun Breaker.
So the first item of business today in NXT, they had a perfect name for young Mr. Steiner here, Mr. Rex Steiner here, and they changed Rex Steiner's name to Braun Breaker with 2 K's in the last name, BRONBREAKKER, Braun Breaker.
Yeah, they did.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Man, Rex Steiner is such a perfect name for such a large number of reasons.
Don't you want the association with his father?
Exactly. And it's such a natural thing. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why would you want to rewrite history arbitrarily for no reason?
It's like calling Brian Pillman Jr. Turd Ferguson.
Exactly right, man. It's pretty much exactly right that with 2 G's in Ferguson.
Like, it's insane. So LA Knight, he's talking. Braun Breaker shows up. Braun Breaker wants a chance to prove himself tonight. So, LA Knight accepts the challenge, even though he has a championship match later in the night.
So, dumb for a number of reasons, but I can buy that LA Knight is a cocky heel who's like so full of himself that he just is completely looking past this clown, and he's like, I'll get a tune-up, I'll beat this young kid. I accept that, but with what happens next, I think there needs to be a third step in the story that was not addressed or seen at all. So at this moment, fine.
And it's funny that you say that because something happened, but we'll get there soon. All right, so we get into the action. We are now in the new Capitol Wrestling Center?
The Rainbow Wrestling Center, it seems. It looks like a Memphis studio now. It's completely lit. You see the entire audience. A lot of things happening here. The color scheme, it's a little... I don't know, do you think it's like it looks low rent is maybe the word? Like, I don't think it's coming across exactly the way they intend it to. I think it looks a lot smaller than I was expecting. Obviously, it's the Capitol Wrestling Center, but by lighting it up like they are, you see that it is really just a small little studio.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. How do you feel about the general look? Do you think like low rent is the word that's coming to my mind? Do you think that's fair?
I wouldn't say low rent, but for sure not what they expected for us. Or maybe this studio feeling is exactly what they wanted, but we're not used to this. Because I will say this, listeners, we, right after watching NXT 2.0 episode 1, we watched Ilya Dragunov versus Walter, but the director's cut from NXT UK, it was night and day.
Night and day. And I don't want to say I prefer one or the other, but I do think like it's not the same. It's not the same. And I wonder how this NXT branding is going to look if and when they ever do try to put takeovers back on the road. That's a separate conversation as to what happens to these takeover shows now.
Will there still be takeovers?
I would think so. It would be beyond idiotic to kill that brand. But if they have one or two bad takeovers, the brand's killed anyway. The entire pull of takeovers is that consistently they've been the best wrestling shows in the ring over the past 5 years or more. They just have, man. And that's kind of slipped a little bit, but they still do always deliver. You're always going to get a great match or two.
Some would say they stand and deliver.
By God, Boris, by God.
All right, so match number 1, Braun Breaker with 2 Ks versus LA Knight. All right. What did you think of this match?
I thought it was pretty good for what it was. It was brief, and I really like Rex Steiner. I refuse to call him Braun Breaker. I won't do it. You can't make me. No, I'll definitely get on that. But yeah, it wasn't very long, but Braun Breaker looked pretty good, and he pins LA Knight clean, Boris, with the old Goldberg-style gorilla press into a catching body slam. I actually really like that move. I buy it as a finish. It looks pretty devastating, but 3 minutes and 50 seconds... man pins LA Knight, who will be in your main event.
Yep.
So,
if I was Braun Breaker and I get this win via power slam, call it what you want, it's a power slam.
Fair.
I would get on a mic and say, I just beat you. William Regal, put me in the match.
Absolutely. Shoot, brother. Go take the mic yourself. Make it a real NXT 2.0 here. But no, obviously that's ridiculous. But yeah, man, I think it's pretty bad that he beats a guy who's in the main event and it's just not even addressed further. And as we'll see, they shoehorn another random goof into the main event. Why? It makes no sense. Why not just put Bronson Breakerton or Bronch Braunman or whatever the frig you're calling this guy? Just put him in the match.
I don't understand why it had to be LA Knight. It could have been anyone else in the roster.
There is no shortage of heels. They could have beaten one of the guys in Legado. They could have been, like you said, literally anyone.
Take that back.
Yeah, sorry. Not Santos. But, hey, I'm sorry for suggesting such a lewd and terrible thing, Boris.
But why was it someone from your main event? Maybe, here's my thing. Maybe they wanted the, pardon the pun, impact of, this new guy beating a quote-unquote main eventer.
Of course that's what they wanted, but it's just very unsatisfying that the goofball who lost in the opening match just shows up in the main event like nothing happened and nobody addresses it. And nobody on commentary, nobody backstage is like, hey, maybe we should put this Braun Breaker guy in this match instead. Like, that would be the logical thing in any sport or any piece of storytelling.
So let's just throw a Dynamite right in there and just, see what happens so that us fans can rampage all the way to town. You see what I did?
I see what you did there. That was pretty good. 2 times. Anyway, but yeah, I just think this is the kind of thing that, all publicity is good publicity and it gets the people talking, but this is the kind of thing that makes people turn off your show and go, that's stupid, I'm watching something else.
We're talking about it, but we're nitpicking. Dude, we've been talking about this match longer than the match itself.
Exactly right. So yeah, we should probably move on from it. But yeah, it was a bad and strange decision. In terms of a rating, I think I would go as high as 3 Turd Fergusons out of 5. 60% above average, good showing, surprising result. I thought this was a proper little kickoff to NXT 2.0, and at this moment, the story's still fine. The story turns when LA Knight just shows up in the main event. That's what makes it not fine. At this moment, we're still good.
Yep. Anyways, so go to commercial. Back from commercial, we see Braun Breaker 2Ks with other NXT 2.0 personalities whom we don't know, but I like this, right? It's like all the rookies are happy, and at this point, I turn to Matt and I say, wouldn't it be cool if we got NXT 2.0 versus NXT 1.0?
Brings us to our larger point, Boris. That would be cool, but you made this point later in the show, and I'm going to steal it right from you right now. This is a PG Vince Russo show. It doesn't have the sexism, it doesn't have the racism, it doesn't have kidnapping women, but it has a lot of these Russo elements. And you know what's a classic Russo trope? The young blood versus the old guys, Boris. I think we might be getting one of those.
I think so. 100%. I think this is what's going to happen. War Games is around the corner.
Back out! That would Actually, I wouldn't mind that if they do pull that off. I think the War Games, well, they've done 2 before. I think one War Games is for sure Hit Row versus Legado.
Yeah.
That's going to be in a War Games cage. I think that's set up. It's going to be pretty good.
I hope so.
I hope so.
With the women in there?
Yeah, I think so. That would be kind of the twist on it, like a mixed War Games match, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll get there in a second. All right. This leads us right into the second match of the night, which was Imperium, Fabian Aichner and Marcel Bartel versus Brooks Jensen and my boy, Josh Briggs.
Brooks Jensen, our second of 6 debuts on this show. 20-year-old lad, just a young boy.
20 years old.
20 years
20
old.
years
boys.
old.
That would
20
mean
years old.
That would mean he was born in 01.
That's insane.
Crazy.
But it's funny because, like, we were watching this kid, and until Wade Barrett, Vic Joseph, or Beth Phoenix mentioned that he was 20 years old, you would have had no idea.
No, and then as soon as they mentioned it, you see it like in his face, kind of just he's got the baby face, like literally he's a little. You'd see that he's a young lad, but yeah, he did well in this match. You know what impressed me though is Fabian Aichner and Marcel Bartel Imperium. These guys are great, man, and especially being in there with 2 guys as green as these guys, specifically the kid who was having his first wrestling match on TV. Man, this was a very good performance by these just technicians.
Exactly. This was a fun little match. You know, there wasn't too much to this. It was an ass kicking at the end of the day. And one thing I do want to note right now. Have you noticed how they are pairing NXT people who have been on NXT for a while with a rookie?
Exactly.
It kind of feels like NXT circa 2010.
Very interesting. Yeah, pretty much all these matches, save 1 or 2. But yeah, I agree with that. Very interesting, man. So yeah, Fabian Aichner hits young Brooks Jensen with an avalanche butterfly suplex at 3 minutes and 57 seconds and gets the Duke. This was also pretty standard wrestling fare. I would give it a slightly above average rating because Imperium are so great and the kid looked pretty good, you know, so we're going to go 3 Turd Ferguson's Boris out of 5. 60%. It's a C in Canada, buddy.
All right. And then we jump into a promo with Hit Row. And just last week, I was saying Hit Row shouldn't do live promos. Hit Row needs to do pre-taped in the studio, literally in a studio, promos. And this is exactly what we got.
Yeah, and I think, well, unfortunately, the reality is if they're going to be main event WWE stars, they have to cut 20-minute promos on the live on television in front of a crowd. It's ridiculous that that's a prerequisite, but it is. So I do think that they should cut live promos. You were right, though. They're better pre-taped, and this was very good.
Yep. All right. Ashanti, the Adonis, is putting BFAB over because this tonight will be BFAB's first match in NXT. Isaiah Swerve Scott says she's going to give NXT 2.0 something to be big mad about. Top Dollar says, we think she's the baddest because she's a hottie, but really it's that she's trained with the best Olympians, champions. And then BFAB actually speaks for herself, and she says the time for talk is over.
Yep, I thought this was pretty good all around. As per usual, Top Dollar is a highlight, but Ashanti's becoming a pretty good promo too, man. He did really well here.
Yep.
I think it was his best moment probably in Hit Row so far, Ashanti.
There we go. All right, this leads us to the next match, which was BFAB versus Katrina Cortez.
Katrina Cortez is the female luchadora who wears the mask and jobs out all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
The jobber female luchador.
Yep, I love it. All right, so this match was short, sweet, to the point. BFAB controlled the entire match.
It's pretty bad.
This is the issue with this analysis type of show.
Exactly. Like
these matches are so short.
But I think it's fine though. Like it requires a little bit of thought. You know what I mean? I think there are good squash matches and bad squash matches. We'll get into the finer points of a really good squash match later. This was a bad one. This was a terrible match. It only went 1:18, so it wasn't like an affront to pro wrestling. This was pretty bad. But
you know, it wasn't an affront to pro wrestling.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Katrina Cortez is selling.
Not good. Not for you in these 80 seconds.
But here's the thing. In 80 seconds, you're trying to put someone over. You sell like a mofo. Like every shot that BFAB gives you should hurt.
Yeah. I agree with that, especially when it's
And
going
we didn't
so
see
short.
that. And we didn't see that. Like Katrina Cortez should have just been laid out, should have been unconscious. This should have been like the Ilya Dragunov putting the foot over Walter.
I believe that would have been a good picture, better than what we saw. Yeah. So yeah, a pretty bad squash match. BFAB wins with a rude awakening reverse neckbreaker thing at 1 minute and 18 seconds. Bad squash. We're gonna go 1 Turd Ferguson out of 5. This made me think BFAB is not ready. It's a pretty sizable fail.
Oof. Wow.
We'll see. I mean, it's developmental. These people need to develop. But yeah, this was not an inauspicious start, Boris. Not
But
great.
then it was my favorite moment of the night because BFAB goes on the mic and she says, "Señorita Secret Sauce, come out." And then enter Legado del Fantasma. If you haven't listened to the show before, I am the biggest Legado mark.
We have some hot takes on the show, but Boris's hottest take of all, is that Santos is better than Andrade El Idolo.
One's fighting against an old guy, and another one is running the bingo.
He does run the bingo. I'm not saying Santos is bad. Andrade is clearly better. Andrade's match versus Pac last Friday was better than anything Santos has done in his entire career. God
Give
bless him.
Santos a chance; he'll prove you wrong. Anyways, Legado del Fantasma comes out, but what I loved about this was Santos Escobar wasn't the focus, obviously. It was the newest member,
Yeah.
Elektra Lopez, a.k.a. Carmen
And
Sandiego.
I thought I was so clever. I said that, you laughed. I was like, oh, she does look like Carmen Sandiego. I thought I was so clever, and then I go on the internet and everybody's made that joke. So it was not a unique observation there, Boris. But you know what? I'm still patting myself on the back for that one.
But this is the issue when we do a show way after the fact.
It's true, yeah.
Anyways, Elektra Lopez gets on the mic. Her and B-Fab are bickering. Elektra Lopez says this time she won't need a pipe to shut B-Fab's mouth. And for her part, the Hit Row woman says she's warm and ready and happy to do it right now. Elektra seems game, but Santos Escobar holds her back, and the two factions are bickering back and forth.
For it. Like I said, man, I think we're getting War Games. I think we're getting a mixed War Games match.
Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder how that's going to work.
Yes, quite. I think actually probably it works with, I don't know, the women coming in last, and I would think, be it probably Elektra Lopez. We've seen her body slam men before. I think she'll just probably do a couple China spots, and then B-Fab will make the save,
Yeah, all right, man. All right, so we go backstage. Cameron Grimes and Odyssey Jones are with Johnny Gargano. They're chatting. Someone knocks on the door. Lo and behold, it is none other than our lost boy, Austin Theory, who was back.
I'm pretty surprised. I thought he was just gone. I thought he was just going to be on SmackDown in a couple weeks.
Yep, and he says he ran away, but he wasn't going to miss Indy Hartwell's wedding, and he brought someone because you cannot have a wedding without a priest, and it was none other than Damian Priest.
So a couple things. I think this is pretty clear that the way are baby faces now. I don't think there was an official turn, but somewhere down the line a couple weeks ago, I think they kind of flipped, and I think we can safely say, especially with Austin Theory coming back with all these baby faces, bringing in and endorsing another baby face from the main roster, I think it's pretty safe to say the way are good guys now.
Good guy. I love that. But yeah, no, it's true. All right, so another point I want to bring up.
Yes.
The fact that Damian Priest showed up.
Pretty cool.
I like this because I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm
man.
trying to grasp.
Shine this apple up, buddy.
Yeah, I'm trying to shine this apple up, and maybe, possibly, what we will see more of is this canon of a main roster and NXT, and hopefully we can see some more main roster appearances in NXT.
Yes, man. So ideally, NXT would be, as you say, canon, much like your podcast. It's canonpodcast.com. Anyway, but yeah, so you'd think that, hopefully NXT things would matter on the main roster and would be in canon, and the things that happen on NXT would matter on the next night's SmackDown and previous, episodes and such. But the thing is, like, what happens on SmackDown doesn't matter on the next week's SmackDown a lot of times. You know what I mean? So that's the problem. There's no continuity on the main roster, let alone trying to rope NXT into it.
Why do you burst my bubble?
Sometimes I just have a good line that I want to get in. I like that SmackDown joke in my head, so I wanted to say it.
But that's the thing. But at the end of the day, like, even if we get an appearance or two, I think that at least makes it legit, for lack of a better term.
I can see that. I can see where your head's at. We'd have to see more of it before I'm ready to say it's legit. But this was nice. It was nice to see a callback. And Damian Priest was one of the coolest and best baby faces that NXT ever had. They actually didn't screw him up at all.
He might actually still be one of the coolest baby faces on the main roster right now.
They
like,
haven't
he's a
screwed him
baby
up yet.
face
Yeah.
that isn't an idiot.
Exactly. He's smart. He's cool. He gets wins. He rarely, if ever, loses. He lost like one tag team match, I think, right? And he hasn't lost in a singles match yet on the main roster. So, yeah, they're doing a really good job with Damian Priest. It's one of the few success stories right now.
Yep. Anyways, Johnny Gargano points out that Damian Priest isn't a real priest, and then Priest just says, I'm just here for the drinks. He grabs a drink from Cameron Grimes, and then Gargano and Theory hug as we go to break.
I like this. Cameron Grimes footing the bill. It's an open bar celebration. Odyssey Jones was there too. This is a bit of fun. I like this a lot.
I enjoy the fact that Odyssey Jones is mingling with NXT 1.0 guys.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of one of those bridge guys in between the old era and the new faction.
Yep. All right. Carmelo Hayes is coming out. And then it's time for a promo. He says he wants to get straight into it. 3 weeks ago, he won the NXT Breakout Tournament. He's got all the momentum, and now he's got a target on his back. Moving forward to NXT 2.0, you're going to catch him off. You won't catch him off guard ever again. And then when he looks around, he realizes that at the end of the day, this is just a numbers game. So he called up his boy, Trick. Then Trick Williams, who is also in the ring with him, gets on the mic and he says he's about it. And Carmelo says, wherever he goes, Trick goes. When he eats, Trick eats. And when he gets put on, Trick gets put on. Trick says he's here for 2 reasons. He was born with the gift of the gab and the gift of the jab. And he's proud of Hayes for being the golden child of NXT, but he's got a bone to pick with him. He always walks his walk, talks his talk, and when he shoots, he does not miss. So who's this new humble Mello? Hayes says he's right. He's the golden child and the chosen one, and if he chooses to pass it, Trick will receive it. Trick says that's all it is, and that's all it's gonna be. So,
couple things here. Couple things to talk about. So, man, okay. First of all, was this a heel turn? Is this a heel act now?
that's literally where I was going with
Yeah,
this.
I think this was a heel turn. I think this was Trick was like, hey man, like you're actually like sick. Why are you pretending to be like this nice guy? That's not who you are. And I think Carmelo was like, man, maybe you're right. I'm still me, but you know. And I think this is they're at least leaning heel if this wasn't a straight up turn.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, it's very interesting. Like, and it was very confusing because it's like you got this guy, Carmelo Hayes. I got my buddy, and then all of a sudden his buddy is like calling him out.
Yeah, sort of, but like not. Yeah, exactly. He could basically like called him out, not in a punk way, but it was just like, hey man, what's wrong with you? Like what's happening here, buddy? Like this ain't you. So I kind of like where this is going. I'm intrigued. I don't want to get on a big high horse here and make a big thing out of it, but a big criticism of AEW is that they don't push enough people of color, enough black wrestlers. I think NXT is making a point to push some people of color and some black wrestlers, and you love to see it. They're all talented and deserve to be there. So great. But do you think this is leading to a tag team match where Carmelo cashes in on MSK and they are the heel tag team versus a babyface MSK for the tag team titles?
1,000%. I think that's where this is going because I'm like, all right, the North American Championship is like Legado versus Hit Row.
Yeah.
The NXT Championship we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
So, what's left?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It is the tag team titles, and what are they going to do with them, and where is Mello going to fit into all of that? So I think it's smart, man. Yeah.
All right. So, right after all this, Duke Hudson comes out. He called shoulders both men, and then Trick Williams gets in the ring, lays out Duke Hudson with a kick, and then Carmelo Hayes joins in on the beatdown. So you know what? This might be the heel turn of Carmelo Hayes.
It's strange because Duke himself is a heel. They should have brought out a baby face, I think, to really, kind of force that point home, because they beat up a heel. But I don't think Duke was, I don't know, it seemed like Duke was coming out for his own match. Like, it didn't seem like an interruption. And they just stuck around in the ring and beat the crap out of this guy. So I don't know. It does seem like they're heel. I don't know if we got an official turn here or not. But I think at this moment, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams are to be treated and seen as heels.
All right, let's move on to the next segment. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan are in a warehouse and they're talking to dashing Mandy Rose, who's off camera. The camera pans back. Mandy's wearing the hood, and we can't really see any details.
Yeah, we see her a shot from the back, just a hooded figure, not unlike AJ Styles.
Not unlike, yes. Exactly. All right, so Casey Canzaro, Kaden Carter, they make their entrance as we go to break. We get the set being built for the Index wedding, but more importantly, let's go to the next match, which is Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Casey Canzaro and Kaden Carter.
Yeah, so this was your new WWE influence. This is the Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn special here. Dumb bullshit match that is worth nothing, that leads to a second match that starts during commercial that's also kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So in 2 minutes, this tag team match is thrown out, Boris, when brunette Mandy Rose runs in for the DQ.
You mean Trish Stratus?
Yes, it's so funny. Mandy Rose, as a brunette, looks exactly like Trish Stratus did when she was a brunette. Yep. I don't understand it, but they look exactly alike.
You know what the sad part is?
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
The biggest takeaway for me in this match was the beatdown of Kyle O'Reilly via Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland.
That happened in this segment. So again, a Russo special. To the back we go, where Kyle O'Reilly is being laid out, and now Kyle O'Reilly will no longer be in the main event tonight, Boris.
Yep. So, Casey Canzaro, Kaden Carter being beat down by Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane. We go to commercial. When we get back from commercial, all of a sudden, very randomly, thank you, William Regal, apparently, we have a 6-woman tag, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and Mandy Rose versus Casey Canzaro, Kaden Carter, and Sarai.
Yeah, I think Sarai ran in. Did she run in before the break for the save? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, right before the break.
Yeah. So we now have a 6-woman tag, a trios match, and it is Casey, Kaden, and Sarai versus Hot Girl Autumn.
I like that.
Thank you.
All right. What can we say about this match?
Yeah, it started in commercial. They actually went a long time. It went like 8 to 10-ish minutes, especially factoring in the commercial. It was over 10. And I thought it was strong for what it was. It was, kind of like your standard, like I said, like your standard Kevin Dunnish, Bruce Pritchard-ish WWE match. But I mean, these girls are okay. They're improving a lot in the ring. Saray's great. I think this is fine.
Exactly. You know what? I got to say, I really enjoyed this match in the grand scheme of things. It's developmental. We're seeing improvements. And it's kind of funny / sad when Mandy Rose is your veteran.
Yeah, and she was actually she was working pretty hard here. She looked pretty dang good. She won this match clean with a V-trigger, Boris. A goddamn flying knee bomb she did.
Wait, well, you can win matches with knees to the face?
Oh, that's my biggest criticism of Kenny Omega is he hits 10 knee bombs per match that look like they should kill a man. Kill him dead, and it's just a near fall. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Man, this was actually kind of good. It was at the very least there was nothing wrong with it. So I would say it's probably pretty average WWE fare, but Mandy did look good. We're gonna go 2.5 Turd Fergusons. It's a Mendoza line match, 50%, right on the border.
I don't know. I would have given it more. That's just me, considering how we kind of I wouldn't say praise the match, but Mendoza lining it. Okay, sure, why not? Anyways, we go back.
Maybe what we should do is the previous match was like 1 star, and this one was 3. If you're gonna combine it all, it's 2.5. How about that?
Jesus Christ. Baseball. All right, we go backstage. Indy Hartwell is with her bridal party. Candice LeRae yells at a bridesmaid for wearing a beanie. And then that's pretty much it.
Yep. Humor. Hilariousness.
Yep.
Laughter.
Ridge Holland makes his entrance as we go to break. Now, have you noticed this trend on the episode so far where you get an entrance and then the break?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's cool. It's a good idea. Like, this guy's coming. You're about to get a match. You still get the entrance, and there's worry. The famous Shawn Michaels wife situation where her big criticism was that there's too many entrances and they're taking too long, and that's when she wants to flip the channel. So they basically cut all entrances like down to nothing in NXT.
Yep.
So I kind of like that they're giving guys entrances again. It is kind of an interesting idea to do. I don't mind this at all.
Yep. All right, when we get to back from break, William Regal is interviewed. He announces that Kyle O'Reilly is out of tonight's NXT Championship match because he's not cleared, but it's still going to be a 4-way with Von Wagner taking his place, not Braun Breaker, who beat someone already in this match.
So I get wanting to introduce numerous characters, but Braun Breaker has a win on this show versus someone in this match. I think Braun Breaker should have taken LA Knight's spot straight up. But if you're not going to do that, how in God's name do you not put him in the match? They put Von Wagner in the match because he happened to show up and run off the bad guys. Was that the reason why Von Wagner got in here?
Yep.
So that's ridiculous. Von Wagner also is... His shoot name, his real name is Cal Bloom, and he is the son of, I believe it is Blake Beverly, a.k.a. Wayne Bloom. Is it Blake?
Yeah. Yep. Bo Beverly.
It's Bo Beverly. My bad.
I love the fact that we have his second generation Beverly brother on this show.
And yet again, they just can't use their previous WWE name. Like, shouldn't he be Von Beverly?
Right.
And I think that's... Beverly is like it's not better or worse than Wagner necessarily, but because of the history, I think it makes it a better name.
Again, what is the issue? This is literally like, oh my God.
It just makes no sense that they hate history, even if it's their own. They just refuse to like it. You have such a beautiful, like, rich tapestry of things to tap into. Why would you be opposed to doing so? I just don't understand it. I don't get it. In baseball, they show highlights of old games. If you're watching the NFL, you see highlights of old fucking Super Bowls and stuff. Like, if you're watching hockey, you see, like, all these sports, all these entities appreciate their history.
This is literally like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming through our system and being called Vlad. Nothing else.
Being called Branch Brewery or something absolutely ridiculous. Branch Brankman.
It's insane. Why do you not want to touch on your history? Why do you want to ignore the fact that you have second, third generation superstars coming through your system, and it's like
literally because Vince McMahon was called Junior a couple times as a boy and he just hates it so much. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Like, embrace your history, you morons. You have such a wide, like, so much to tap into, so much to enjoy, and to tell your fans that there's things like, I don't know, like, how could you expect to have a future if you didn't have a foundation of a great past to build on? And they do, man. They do have that. So why do they hide it from us?
But it's weird because it's like they pick and choose, because you have Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
They're not calling him Hector Martinez.
Oh, man, they absolutely could have. Holy Christ.
Anyways, this leads us to Drake Maverick versus Ridge Holland, the future of NXT 2.0.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, this was all right. Again, pretty standard WWE fare. But yeah, Ridge Holland wins with the Snowplow, a.k.a. Northern Grit, a.k.a. the Northern Lights Bomb. It was like, what, 2 minutes? 1:59 or something? 1:49, I believe.
Yeah. It's short match. You know, and here's the thing. Drake Maverick, great selling, clutching his mouth because every punch hurt.
Yeah.
So these are my takeaways from the match. Short match, Ridge Holland won. How would you rate it?
We're going to go average rating. Mendoza line 2.5. Turd. Ferguson's out of 5, Boris.
All right, Tommaso Ciampa's interviewed backstage, and he's asked about the changes to the title match. He says NXT 2.0 is already in chaos. Young, hungry athletes shooting their shot, and he gets that DIY mentality. But when it comes to the NXT title, you think about Tommaso Ciampa. He says it's been 908 days, and tonight he gets his redemption.
I like this choice. We're going to talk more about it in the main event, but I love Tommaso Ciampa's character. I think this is he's exactly where he needs to be, and he's cutting awesome promos. He's doing awesome work in the ring. More of this guy.
Yep. We get a Diamond Mine entrance as we go to break. Yet again, entrance, break, entrance, break. I'm liking this trend.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I actually didn't even notice it until you pointed it out, how strong it was on the show.
Yep. All right. When we come back, we get a promo for a new superstar. He seems to be of Italian-American descent. He's walking through the streets of Chicago. He made his name as a Greco-Roman All-American amateur wrestler, but his family smartened him up to the fact that the real money is in NXT. And his name is Tony D'Angelo.
Absolutely stupid, ridiculous name. There are so many fake names you can choose. They chose Tony D'Angelo, who is an NHL player who was kind of sort of kicked out of the league for being racist. He's not really signed with an NHL team right now. He's a great young talent. His name is Tony D'Angelo, and he's not playing in the league because he's a prick. He's a racist prick. And they're so stupid. Just type Tony D'Angelo into Google. Type it into Google right now. You'll see what comes up. Former NHL player who's like 27 years old and should be in the league. It's ridiculous. Just give him a different name. You morons. It angers me so much, Boris. It's just so easy. These things are so easy. Type his name into Google.
The Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed, go up against Dan Jarman and Trevor Skelly. All right, so last week you praised the Creed brothers. This week I will praise the Creed brothers. These guys, I don't know what it is about them. Is it their intensity? Is it the fact that they actually look like they can beat someone up? Is it the fact that they are being booked to beat these people up?
All of those things. They're Tag Team Goldberg. They're the new Steiner brothers. These guys are awesome, man. This is, yet again, a really good squash match. It was a little samey to the previous, but that's fine. I can watch this for the next 3 months. I can watch these guys shithousing jobbers and jabronis. I'm here for it. But yeah, these Creed brothers, man, they are legit. This is an awesome act. I really, really enjoy these guys.
Yep, so the Creed brothers win by pinfall via a falling lariat from Julius Creed on some dude.
The sliding D, on either Dan Jarman.
Whoa.
Hey, man, blame Misato Tanaka, not me.
I know.
The sliding D on, I think, Dan Jarman. It might have been Trevor Kelly. And they slid that D in there real good. Anyway.
That's what she said.
3.5. We're going to go 3.5 Turd Ferguson's out of 5. At least a B. Very good. I'm here for it. Let's see more of these guys. I'm excited to see their first real match against real opponents.
Yep. Malcolm Bivens gets the mic and he talks about how dominant Diamond Mine are, and they had a new member.
Yes.
They had a female member. We didn't know who she was, but they actually took the time to introduce her, which I did appreciate. So Malcolm Bivens, as he's talking, he introduces the newest member, Ivy Nile. He asks her to flex. She shows off her considerable muscles before he claims she hasn't had a carb since 2005, and she was a star of NBC's Titan Games.
Ivy Nile. So, hey, that's cool. I like the Diamond Mine. Every time you see these guys, the mine expands. It's pretty interesting.
Is this group growing on you?
Yes, definitely. They're growing literally and figuratively on me as well.
Sliding D?
I don't know. I don't know if the D is sliding yet, Boris, but they are growing on me.
Oh, Lord. All right. Enter Kushida. He says they're all talk. He calls out Roderick Strong. He says he's ready. Bivens says the match will happen next week.
Very very nice to see Kushida back. I was worried he was out for a long time with COVID. We just got the announcement that he officially did have COVID despite being vaccinated, which sucked. So I thought that was going to keep him out, but I guess that was just an explanation more than a current injury situation, because here he was.
Yep. All right. So we see Dexter Lumis brushing his mustache, and then here's what I caught, because I did rewatch the show this morning. So, did you catch this last night? Vic Joseph asks Beth Phoenix about Edge.
No, I actually didn't see that.
Yep. He asks, "How's Edge doing?" And she says, "He's home recuperating."
Interesting.
So, there you go.
Yeah, little main roster tie-in, a little bit of canon, Boris.
Yep. Like, isn't that kind of cool? Isn't that kind of cool?
I like it a lot. Yeah, things that happen on this show should matter on the main roster.
Exactly. All right. Pete Dunne makes his entrance as we go to break. Back from commercial, Johnny Gargano is doing some last-minute wedding preps, but this leads us into the main event, wrestling-wise, of the night, which featured LA Knight versus Pete Dunne versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Von Wagner for the NXT Championship belt.
Von Wagner is so... it's not as bad as Braun Strowman or whatever this... Bruce Bronkman. It's not as bad as Braun Breaker. But yeah, so this match was fine. I love the idea of putting the NXT title back on Tommaso Ciampa. It really seems like they want the classy, the all-business veteran to be wearing that belt right now and to be kind of showing the young guys the way to do it. And I think Ciampa is a perfect choice for that role. He is so damn good. His promos are great. His matches are great. He is a leader. If you follow Ciampa on Instagram, you see he works out like an absolute stallion. He's always in the gym. He's a gym rat. I think this is the exact kind of person who should be NXT champion. Great choice. Great choice.
100%. There was a lot of talk that Pete Dunne was going to win because it was announced yesterday that Pete Dunne signed a 3-year contract with WWE, personally handed to him from Triple H.
Yes. I think, and we've said this before, I think Pete Dunne is gearing up for Ilya. I think that's going to be Pete Dunne's long-term program.
Interesting.
Yes. Dunne versus Ilya, and I think he's going to win back that UK title.
I think it should be noted that, yes, Tommaso Ciampa won. He did a fairy tale ending on Von Wagner.
Pinning the young gun.
Yep.
10 minutes, 35 seconds, I believe it went.
Yep. Overall, pretty good match.
Yeah, perfectly fine. I would go as high as 3.5, let's say. I actually do think that my favorite thing on the show was the Creed brothers, but I think this was still a pretty good world title match. We're going to go 3.5 Turd Fergusons out of 5. 70%, it's a B in Canada. Boris.
Yep. All right, let's move on. We get a video package for the Index wedding. It covers the entire history of the relationship, and I gotta say, this was interesting. It was well done because it's NXT. At least they still have their video packages.
Yep. Still on point.
On point. Thank you. We were watching this show with a non-wrestling fan.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
tying a few on.
Yeah. And he loved this.
It was interesting to see how much he actually did enjoy this. He thought, it was cheesy and stupid, and he did laugh at it, not necessarily with it all the time, but at the end of the day, he was sports entertained, Boris.
And we're going to talk about this at the end of the show because I talked to him this morning, and there's some very interesting insights because, we're so into this, right?
Deep in the bubble.
So
we're doing a podcast about WWE's developmental league, buddy.
Oh.
I think it just hit you, maybe, just now.
It really just did.
How deep in the bubble we are.
It really just did. This is like us literally talking about the Buffalo Bisons.
Exactly right. Triple A Pro Wrestling, buddy. AHL Wrestling. I'm here for it.
God, we're such nerds. All right, guests are filing in. The ring crew's building the wedding set. Back from commercial, the wedding is in place. Johnny Gargano walks in the Hartwell. Man, this made me laugh. I don't know why this made me laugh so much. Like Johnny Gargano with that, just that shit-eating grin on his face.
He's become proud papa at this moment. I actually loved it too. Yeah, Gargano's got so much personality. It's shocking how good he was as a heel, and now I guess he's officially a babyface again. But he's still this cheesy goofball character.
All right, so the priest starts. We get their full names. Dexter Gaylord Loomis.
Sure.
And Indy Ophelia Hartwell.
I kind of like it.
Yeah. He asks who gives Indy away. Johnny says he does before panicking. He double checks with Hartwell to make sure she still wants to get married. They'd had this bit where Austin Theory actually didn't have the rings. And then
You should have them, Boris. But the great Ikemen Jiro,
who was in full wrestling gear.
well, but to be fair, his wrestling gear is a nice sports coat anyway, so it makes sense. This coat was probably it was a pretty average Ikemen coat, 6.5 on the Agnew scale out of 10.
I love that. Theory says Jiro is his guy, and Johnny takes the rings from him. Priest does the objection bit, and I love that almost everyone raised their hands at this point.
Yeah, that's good.
Only to have Dexter Gaylord Loomis half open his jacket to reveal an axe, and everyone quickly sits down.
That part did actually make me giggle. I'm giggling about it right now. That was
Same
the best.
here.
That was the best part of this wedding by
Yep.
far.
Then it was time for the vows. Indy goes first. She talks about how people misunderstand Loomis. They see him as a creep, but she sees a caring man. She talks about Dexter sneaking into her bed before he shushes her. This is where the stuff starts
A
going out
little
of...
iffy, not the message necessarily that you want to be putting out to the public. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
It's the story. It's whatever.
It is what it is.
It's far from the most offensive pro wrestling wedding, as we'll get into in a little bit, buddy.
Exactly. Dexter Loomis time. His vows consist of a thumb up.
Really enjoyed this.
I am stealing this.
I think
When you
might,
attend my wedding, that this is happening.
I might also be attending your divorce on the same day.
Can you imagine?
I actually can. If you just hit her with the thumbs up, I think I can imagine. Yeah, I think I can, buddy.
I meant me actually doing the thumb up.
I can imagine that too, sadly.
You can't. Anyways, yeah, the priest is baffled. He criticizes him for not saying anything. Priest gets choked out by Dexter Loomis. Everyone is calling for William Regal. William Regal seems like he wants nothing to do with this, both in story and in real life.
Yeah, I believe that was a shoot look of disgust and confusion.
Yep. And then Beth Phoenix steps up to the altar. She says she was afraid something like this would happen, so the night before she went online, got ordained as a minister. They each do their, the I do's. Yeah.
Yeah, they played this pretty straight. Shockingly so. No heel turn for Dexter. No big turn by Johnny. No shocking debut. No Sting coming down from the rafters. Nothing crazy.
And we even got Dexter Loomis saying I do into his mic, which got a huge pop from the Nextras.
Absolutely. That was the payoff. That was the entire thing. Is Dexter finally going to speak? And of course, buddy, he said the words I do. So
Yep. He just should have done it like the Ultimate Warrior when Sherry was begging for the
hell no.
Yeah. That's what I was expecting. Royal Rumble 91.
Quite
Ultimate
the
Warrior.
Quite the twist for the Dexter Loomis character it would have been. The
But yeah.
Ultimate Loomis.
Beth Phoenix pronounces them husband-wife. They kiss. Loomis sweeps Hartwell off her feet. And as this is going, we get a cut to the monitor backstage. Tommaso Ciampa, he's watching with Goldie, hugging Goldie. And then Braun Breaker comes in, congratulates them. And they talk about, they're just congratulating each other. But Braun has his eyes on Goldie.
Pretty interesting, man. I'm pretty surprised by that. Why not just put him in the match? You didn't have to beat him. You could actually. We said that Von Wagner was beaten. I think Ciampa pinned LA Knight. I think LA Knight did the double job on this show.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think you could have definitely thrown Braun into the match, to the Fatal 4-Way. But if this is going to be the direction, that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. This cheesy little shaking hands and there's respect, but there's gonna be trouble brewing. It's fine. It's far from the most offensive thing on this show.
Yeah, Braun Breaker.
Braun effing Breaker. So what did you think of NXT 2.0, buddy?
I have so many mixed feelings. Look, it's developmental. we're talking about the AAA of WWE at this point. It was what it was. Honestly, it wasn't the worst thing. I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot better.
I've seen a lot worse from this company this week, so I'm not terribly offended. But it's gonna be the NXT we knew and loved is dead deep in the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was my major takeaway. The NXT we loved, the NXT that stole the show every pay-per-view weekend, the NXT that, how many weeks were we saying NXT was better than AEW Dynamite?
More than you would think. It definitely wasn't a blowout, a sweep. It was pretty competitive there. It oftentimes had the best match or promo, one of the two. Man, it's just, the TV show is whatever. I think it'll be fun to like kind of look back and laugh at it here and there and see like the Creed brothers smashing people. That'll be cool. I'm not worried about the TV show too much. I am worried about the takeovers, as we've kind of touched on. It'll be sad if they crush that brand, man, because those are still so reliable. Just, you're going to get a good wrestling show with good matches and no bullshit. And I'm very scared about that.
You know what I can honestly see? I can see them renaming TakeOver.
Could you imagine? Well, maybe, but
because just think of the word TakeOver.
I think it still works. You know, I know what you mean though. It's if they want to do that main roster, that canon, TakeOver could still be a good name, right? I don't know.
Possibly. All right, we're all about gimmicks in NXT 2.0 and on NXT Talk. So we had a gimmick brought to us by our minds last week, and it was the top 5 wrestling weddings.
Yeah, so we're going to go WWE weddings because there have been other weddings as well in other companies. But I do think like WCW, TNA, all these other weddings largely have been awful. So I do think these are probably the top 5 of all time. So we're going to go just counting down from 5 to 1. Number 5, SummerSlam 1991, Randy Savage Elizabeth wedding. That is August 26, 1991. The most straight up, straightforward pro wrestling wedding, but you couldn't make this list without including it, you know? But yeah, no twists on it, no turns. Even more like played straight than this one, which was very, very straight that we just saw. Number 4, speaking of straight, Billy and Chuck wedding. Featuring Eric Bischoff. So this was pretty bad for a number of reports.
You're going to make that joke, and you're not going to include what I think should be number 1 on the list. All right, we're going to talk about this.
I think this was all about the twist with Eric Bischoff. This was pretty bad. It was a huge cop-out to build Billy and Chuck as like a gay couple and to try to even be somewhat progressive about it by 2002 standards, only to actually at the wedding have them go, well, this is just a publicity stunt. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but it was just a very big cop-out. But this is on this list for the one reason of Eric Bischoff wearing old man mask and makeup, becoming this weird minister character, and then all of a sudden flipping the switch. 3-minute warning comes out. They lay out Billy, they lay out Chuck, they lay out Stephanie McMahon in this wedding. This was the twist on this is one of the all-time best twists in pro wrestling, honestly, at least in WWE.
I love the fact that this isn't our first 3-minute warning reference.
We love 3-minute warning around here. We're big husky gentlemen, Boris. How could you not? Number 3, Kane and Lita wedding, WWE Raw. That is from 2004, August 23rd.
Man, we're old.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. So yeah, Lita had a couple weddings. She also married Edge on WWE TV. I think this one was superior. I really laughed hard at Kane's entrance theme, which was like his real theme being played on the cello. It was just great, just really good stuff. And yeah, Matt Hardy comes in for the save. Kane lays him out with an awesome choke slam off of the ramp through a couple tables and then carries off Lita. The vows were good. Kane's performance here is like all-time Hall of Fame stuff. This is a good wedding segment. Kane and Lita. Number 2, from November 29, 1999, Stephanie McMahon and Test marriage featuring Triple H. I can't rank it number 1 because, boy, it doesn't age well. You couldn't do this segment today, you know? But it was very entertaining. It was very, very memorable. It basically led WWE down the path that we're still following today, buddy.
Yeah, pretty much. Can you imagine if their kids were to ever watch this segment.
Oh my God, no. I'm sure they will eventually see it, but no, I can't imagine what that's going to be like at all. Especially like when they do see it 10, 15 years from now. You know what I mean?
Right?
Could you imagine what the reaction's going to be then? And the number one professional wrestling wedding of all time, my favorite, the best, AJ Lee and Daniel Bryan from WWE Raw 1000, the 1000th episode of Raw, July 23rd, 2012. I think this had everything that you need in a pro wrestling wedding. It had a good twist with Vince McMahon coming out, and it led to AJ Lee being the GM, which was an actual huge thing in storyline that mattered for months. This was very entertaining. We got cameos, Slick, if you will. And yeah, man, this was very, very good. I think this is the best pro wrestling wedding, and you can actually show it to a human being and not be embarrassed, not be, promoting rape and such. So, hey, that's a plus.
Jesus, professional wrestling.
A disgusting and terrible business, but the AJ Lee and Daniel Bryan wedding, the best wedding in WWE history.
Yeah. All right.
Dexter and Indy did not make the top 5.
No?
No, sir.
All right. So there you go. Those are the top 5 weddings because we love a gimmick here on NXT Talk. And without further ado, it is time for NXT Corner. NXT UK Corner. Some may remember this theme song as the Allied Powers. Some may remember this theme song as NXT UK Corner because every week we love talking about NXT UK because for Matt and I, it is the best hour of WWE TV a week.
Love that theme song. Makes me happy hearing that now. It reminds me of this great brand, WWE NXT UK. Man, do you think this NXT 2.0 influence is going to cross over the pond here?
We should have this conversation at length at some point, and I think it won't. Because remember, the whole idea of NXT UK was basically to just absolutely destroy the indie scene.
Dismantle, dismember. Yes.
And it did.
Yeah, it did.
And it did.
Successfully.
Yeah. So, we've seen a lot of changes in NXT. We've seen a lot of changes in NXT stateside, but I honestly believe that because the indie scene is essentially destroyed, they're going to want to keep their firm grip on it. Hence, therefore, NXT UK will stick around. NXT UK won't change, but stranger things have happened. Maybe Vince doesn't even know about NXT UK.
That's the thing. I'm positive he's not watching and barely has ever.
How can you not watch Isla Dawn?
There's some awesome performers in NXT UK. This is, like we say, man, every week. This is the best hour of TV that WWE produces, at least in terms of wrestling. Some of the documentaries on the WWE network are actually unbelievable. But in terms of a wrestling show, this is by far the best thing they do.
Yep, so we're going to be talking NXT UK from September 9th, 2021 from the BT Studios in London, England. Your commentators are Nigel McGuinness and Andy Shepherd.
I like Andy. He's growing on me a lot.
Yeah, I think so.
He's better than Vic Joseph, who is actually also pretty good. He's grown on me too.
I don't like Vic Joseph. You know why.
Yeah, I know exactly why you don't like Vic Joseph.
Nothing to do with his commentary.
Just outright rage and jealousy. Anyway.
All right, so this episode was weird because the main event was a director's cut of the Ilya Dragunov versus Walter match from TakeOver 36.
Yeah, we keep saying director's cut. It wasn't billed as that, but it was very much that. It was it was a behind-the-scenes look with different interviews from different wrestlers who were watching and enjoying that match greatly. I think you can't do this every week. And I didn't even watch it day of. I stopped NXT UK because I just seen a lot about this match. I was kind of like, you know what, I'm good. I've had my fill of this. But we had to watch it for the podcast. So after we wrapped up NXT stateside, we